If you want to sell your business in 2026, here are 3 steps that you need to take before you do it. I'm Steven. I'm a partner at Mills Wealth Advisors, and I help clients exit their businesses and start their next chapter. I've been doing this for 13 years and have recently become a certified exit planning advisor to help our clients make better decisions around selling their business and starting their next chapter. And if you find yourself in a position to sell your business in 2026, I have 3 high-level tips to make sure it is as successful as possible. Like I said, these are 3 high-level tips. These aren't everything that you need to do, but I think most people are going to make sure that they do this before they sell the business. So let's get into it. Step number 1 is get out of your own way. Most business owners focus on vanity metrics like revenue and profit and don't focus as much on value. When someone's coming to buy your business, they're not just looking at revenue or profit. They're looking at the true value that is going to be created. And if you're a business owner who bottlenecks the company, your company is going to be worth less than someone who doesn't, because most businesses are going to be sold and the owner is not going to be there anymore. And if your company is highly revolving around you, it's going to be hard for the new buyer to continue with that revenue and that profitability without you there. So the first thing you need to do is audit how you can take a step back from the business and allow those around you to take a bigger step forward. I can tell you from personal experience here at Mills Wealth Advisors, over the last 5 years, I have been taking a much bigger role than Mike, my partner. And the goal is to have others under me to start taking more roles and allowing me and Mike to not be as involved in the day-to-day business. Because if we were to ever sell, that's going to allow us to command a higher price target than a lower one, because the business does not just revolve around us. It revolves around the systems and around the people, not around me and Mike. An example of this would be a basketball team where one player hogs the ball and never passes it to his teammates. A good defense is going to revolve around that guy and make sure that he doesn't score. And if he doesn't pass to the open players, he's going to lose. So it's important that you allow the whole team to work together and not just you as the business owner. So if you're a business owner and you do everything and all the revenue revolves around you, all the business revolves around you, when you go to sell it, you might have high revenue, high profitability, but a buyer's going to look at that and they're going to say, the only way this company makes money is if you're here and I'm trying to buy this business from you and have you leave. So your business is going to be worth less than if it revolved around other people who might still be in the business. So step number 1 is to get out of your own way and make sure that others are being involved and it's not just you. Step number 2 is to make sure that your numbers are ironclad. Now, a lot of business owners, we find ways to pay for expenses that might be personal, might be business, and that's legal. But what you need to do is make sure that those numbers are clearly stated in your profit and loss. What you don't want to have happen is have a bunch of numbers that are in there that are in the gray area, and that when you have a buyer come look at it, they're going to focus only on your profit and not on the profit plus owner comp. Things I'm talking about would be like my truck. If I have a truck that the company's paying for, that would be something that can be added back in, because that's going to be an expense that's not going to be there if I sell my business. Another expense may be if you use a home office, or if you have other things that you are personally using inside the business that if you're no longer there, aren't going to be there. You need to make sure that you highlight those, and that when you go and sell the business, those are clearly marked as expenses for tax purposes, but not expenses for business purposes. Because many businesses, when they go to sell, they don't delineate between what's a business expense and what's a personal expense, and they're going to jumble them both together, and you're going to end up with a lower multiple because your profitability is going to look worse than what it actually is. And trying to do it after the fact, after you're selling the business or after you've looked at your numbers and saying, oh no, let's add that back in there. They're going to be like, no, we're not adding that back in. It's staying as is. And you're going to end up with a lower multiple than if you would have done the due diligence beforehand and made sure those numbers were pulled out and clearly marked as personal expenses, not as business expenses. And the final tip number 3, it's important that you figure out what your next step is going to be. I can't tell you about the number of business owners who've sold their business and after the fact been upset that they did it because they didn't plan for what's next. Because at some point, playing golf every day can get boring for some people. At some point, watching TV and you spending time with your wife, she might get sick of you, or your husband, they might get sick of you. So not having a plan for what's next is going to create issues for you down the road. You may have a passion project that you want to be involved in, whether that's a new business or if that's some sort of charitable event. But you need to have a passion project that you can spend time in. There's an old adage that talks about 1,000 hours spent doing something allows people to live a more happy lifestyle. So if you're someone who is about to sell your business and you are going to retire to something, whether that's service, whether that's a side business, or whether that's spending time with family. But what researchers have found is people who spend 1,000 hours doing something meaningful after retirement are those who live longer and live happier. So tip number 3 is to make sure that before you sell that business, you know what the next stage is going to be. And it's not just playing golf, because I promise you, your future self will thank you for having a plan for the next step. And honestly, you don't have to live by that. It's not set in stone that that's what you're going to have to do. You need to have an idea of what you want to do after you sell the business, or else you may end up like the other people who end up with seller's regret, and they say, man, I should have kept that business that was paying a nice income rather than sold it and now sitting around doing nothing. So again, the 3 steps, if you're going to sell your business in 2026, number 1 is to get out of your own way. Make sure you have a team that is working around you rather than just being that ball hog. You're having a team that is going to allow your business to sell for more, because buyers don't want you around. They want the team. They don't want to buy all the stuff that you're doing. So if you're a bottleneck, it's going to make your price come down. But if you build it out to where the business does not revolve around you, you're going to have typically a higher sales price. The second thing is to make sure that you pull out what is business necessary and what are personal expenses in your P&L before you show it to a buyer. Because once they see it and you try and add profit, they're going to not let you do that. They're going to go with the first number that you showed them. So make sure that your profit numbers show what is business necessary and what is personal. And then the final thing is to make sure that you have a plan for what's next. Far too many business owners, after they sell the business, have buyer's remorse and wish they wouldn't have sold the business. So make sure you plan for what's next, whether it's going to be something personal, another business, or going out and doing service. Make sure you have a plan for what's next, because I promise you, playing golf every day gets boring and you're going to want to have something else, and you don't want to have buyer's remorse. Now, those are 3 high-level tips. There's definitely a lot more that I've learned in my 13 years of being a financial advisor. And if you're someone who would like to go deeper than just those 3 things, feel free to click the link in the description below and schedule a time for us to have a free consultation where we can walk through what your ideal future can look like after you sell your business. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.